This is special COVID-19 coverage on Your Health, a podcast of the Integrated Health and Social Services University Network for West Central Montreal.
And welcome to the Your Health Podcast. I'm your host, Sean McMahon, reminding you to listen and subscribe anytime at ciuswestcentral.ca/podcast. That's CIUSSS westcentral.ca/podcast, or on all your favorite podcast platforms like Google, Apple, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and more. It's a pleasure to have you with us for a very special episode because within CIUS West Central Montreal, there's a very special building along Côte-des-Neiges Boulevard that almost seems to glow when the sunrise hits it just right. The Côte-des-Neiges Birthing Center, or the Maison Naissance, is a constant beacon of hope, but especially now during these difficult times amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. May 5th, International Day of the Midwife, and we celebrate on this episode of Your Health with our next guest, Maisha No, who is the head of midwife services at the Birthing Center. Maisha, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Sean.
All right, so the Côte-des-Neiges Birthing Center welcomes between 350 to 400 babies every single year, which is amazing. But Maisha, I just want to know what the role of midwife means to you personally, and maybe tell us a bit more about the services that are offered at the Maison Naissance. And is it fair to say that the term midwife is still quite misunderstood by a lot of people?
Yes, I agree by the fact that it's still unknown, but our Maison Naissance is one of the biggest in the province. So we have a team of 15 midwives that follows around 350, as you said, 400 women every year. So we follow women with a normal pregnancy that are healthy. So this is our scope of practice here in Quebec. And we do all the pregnancy follow-up, the labor and birth, and also the postnatal follow-up at home and here at Maison Naissance.
Okay, now speaking of that though, a lot has changed obviously in the last few weeks and months because of COVID-19. So I would imagine you've had to change a lot of how you do things, whether it's prenatal, during labor, and postnatal.
Yes, we had to adapt a lot of things since the beginning of the pandemic. So now we are not offering home births anymore. So we try to reorganize and recenter all women to deliver here at Maison Naissance. And then also all the group, so the prenatal classes are now suspended, but so we don't offer them anymore. But we did adapt the offer of prenatal classes by video. So we did adapt ourselves and videotape with the help of the communication of the CIUS. So two of the midwives offer some prenatal classes by video. And we used to have around 10 consultations during the pregnancy here at the Maison Naissance, but now we are using Zoom telehealth. So women are coming for around 6 or 7 meetings here at the Maison Naissance in person, but they have also 3 or 4 by Zoom. So we use this platform, which is secured, to complete the follow-up. We ask all pregnant women to come alone now, so it's not possible to come accompanied by their partner for prenatal consultation and postnatal consultation, but they can come with their partner for labor and birth.
Right, for now anyway, I mean, until we get back to normal, and hopefully that's sooner rather than later. Listen, Maisha, I want to come back to telehealth in a second, but first, I want to ask you about safety, because it's at the top of everybody's minds right now, and let's face it, expecting families can be especially concerned because they're getting ready to bring this new life into the world. So what are some of the typical concerns you've heard, and how have you gone about safeguarding the parents and the babies, but also the midwives in all of this? They're at the middle of it all, too.
Yes, it's really true. The women that we follow have a lot of questions and worrying and a bit of anxiety, which is a normal reaction in these hard times. So we try to accompany them by answering all their questions with all the information we have. Also, did change a lot of our precaution measure here, so everybody's wash their hands before they come in. Nobody is allowed to come if there's any symptoms, and we disinfect everything. So we used to do this before, but we are now really much more alert of disinfecting all the high touch surfaces twice a day and every material after each use. So for sure, there's a lot of new and consolidation of all the measures to prevent and be sure that it's a safe environment for women to deliver here.
Well, and lastly, let's come back to the issue of technology, because, for all the negatives that are coming out of this pandemic, and that's only normal, I suppose, but there have actually been some positives. If you look across the CIUS, notably in how, maybe practices have changed for the better, or even how technology's opened up these new avenues. And you brought up telehealth and the use of something like Zoom. Is technology really the best representative of maybe a positive that you can take from this whole situation in how it's maybe changing your mind about how you may want to function going forward?
Mm-hmm. It's a really interesting period also, because there's a lot of creative solution, and we have a lot of help for all the other department of the CIUS. So for sure, optimization of all our informatic technologies is really interesting. So we now are using Zoom, as I just said with you. So it's really interesting because we use it for some of the prenatal consultation, but also for the postnatal consultation, because we used to do 3 to 4 home visits in the first 2 weeks to be sure that the breastfeeding is okay, that the baby has a gain weight and everything. But now we are just doing 1 home visit because of the COVID context. But we are doing the consultation with Zoom, so it's really much easier for the midwife to help a woman with her breastfeeding when we see each other, and we can give some special and individual advices that are more helpful than just on the phone. The other thing which is really positive is the decision we made to help our colleague nurses from the Programme Jeunesse to do the home visits for the postnatal follow-up. So all babies who are born in some hospital in Montreal, but they live on our territory, usually they are taken in charge by the nurses for the postnatal follow-up. But now with the situation in long-term care, the nurses has to help all the long-term nurses care. So we have decided to help the nurses from Programme Jeunesse and to do half of the home visits. So it's really interesting. This collaboration is something really new in Quebec. Usually midwives work only in their maison naissance, but we are it's novateur. So
it's all hands on deck at this point. Everybody needs the help, and everybody's willing to step up and make those efforts, of course. Maisha, it's been such a pleasure to be able to highlight International Day of the Midwife with you, and congratulations to the entire team, because I know it must be super difficult to be working under those conditions, but you all do it so well and should be applauded for that. So stay safe. Wash those hands.
Thank you very much. Stay safe, you too.
You've been listening to special COVID-19 coverage on Your Health, a podcast of the Integrated Health and Social Services University Network for West Central Montreal. Don't forget to subscribe at ciuswestcentral.ca/podcast or on your favorite podcast platform.